Do you want fulfillment? Do you wish you could be a cog in the machine? Are you looking for some sort of meaningful labor to give purpose into your worthless life? Then do we have the job opportunity for you. Come down to Obscure Laboratories to be a part of something for once in your life. Join our initiative to increase productivity, dominate sales, and join us today at Happy's Humble Burger Farm. I hope you all like that bit, because I'm never wearing a hat again. My head's way too big for that. Hey, I'm Rytos, and welcome to Is This a Perfect Game? My continuing series where I review my favorite games of all time and find out if they're perfect or not. We're going to go through the visuals, audio, feel, and plot and rate each out of 10. There's also a bonus 5-point category for how much I want to gush about the game, known as the GUSHABILITY score. If a game gets 40 or more points, it's inducted to the Perfect Game Lounge and declared perfect. Otherwise, it just goes into the ranking with the rest of them. Now let's get into it. So, straight away, don't let this game fool you. On the surface, this does very much look like the PlayStation 1 indie game aesthetic, but there's a clear reason for that. We'll go much more in depth for the reasons behind the look of the game, but for now, I'll just say, minor spoiler, the game is a simulation. And I understand that sounds like a really big spoiler, but it's hinted at the very beginning, and also, it's pretty obvious like 10 minutes in. Anyways, because the graphics of the game fit the theme so well and the actual plot of the game, then I think it's great. Remember that realism isn't something that's necessarily the best way to go for every game. I mean, take Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. Twilight Princess, if we're taking everything about the plot and themes of those games, technically looks more realistic, ergo to some people better than Wind Waker. However, Twilight Princess is a much more serious, down-to-earth game than Wind Waker is. If Wind Waker had Twilight Princess's graphics, it wouldn't be good. It'd be very bad. Likewise, if Twilight Princess had Wind Waker's graphics, it would be weird at best. In Happy's, the graphics here work. They make a lot of sense for the plot. Now, to speak of the horror directly, it's honestly not great. Okay, let me clarify. It's unsettling for sure. The game glitches out in these weird ways that definitely trigger the something is wrong senses. Odd, transparent beings running past, customers walking into a closed bathroom that you yourself can't get in, especially closer to the second half of the game where, spoilers, the game starts to fall apart. But there is one aspect I think could be a lot better, and one moment that shines better than everything else in this game. But they're both really big spoilers, so skip to here if you just want the final verdict on visuals. Okay, they're gone. I think all the bosses were really fun and well executed, but once you see them once, they kinda lose any fear factor, in my opinion. Like, Asset Chuck, the whole time getting there and trying to be stealthy and quiet, I was on the edge of my seat. And then it ran at me once, and I was like, oh, that's a big chicken. And then, like, 2 seconds later, I was like, ah, fuck, it's the big chicken again. You know, however, there's another spot near the end of the game where the visuals truly shine. And it's that 50s diner early burger farm prototype that you play right before the farmer boss fight. That 50s inspired diner at the end of the game was the highlight bar none. It's such a surprise and a drastic departure from the game thus far, but familiar enough that you still know what you're doing. The horror in these segments were great too, with each glitch getting stranger and scarier. The boss fight with the farmer is a little lame, but maybe that's my fault. Because, like, okay, there's this poster that shows you what you're supposed to do. You need to get a sandwich of each kind, cook them, and throw them at the farmer, and you win. I saw that, and I thought the farmer was going to attack us in the diner, so I pre-made all the sandwiches and threw them in my bag. And then you teleport to the fight, there's a grill and ingredients, and I turn, and the farmer's there, and I just went, and I won immediately and left. So maybe there's cooler stuff in there, I just never got to see it. All in all, the visuals in here I'll probably give a 7, just above average. And this isn't a critique on the style here, I really love the aesthetic they went for. The problem for me comes with reconciling the great in this game with the mediocre. There's a really great use of theming and switching up things when the player least expects it. But at the same time, the horror factor can dip. So, 7 it is. Alright, yeah, nothing really stands out here. I mean, it's good, there's nothing bad here. There's a couple pretty good tracks. There's a track near the end in the spoiler area that's pretty catchy, you know? It gets stuck in your head, but nothing I'm going to listen to afterwards. But it is a horror game. At least the sound effects are great. You know, using animal sounds for a lot of these screaming noises that the creatures in this game make is really, it's a good touch. I will say the voice acting is kind of just okay. You find audio logs a lot in this game, and some of them are pretty good. There's definitely some that you listen to and it's like, okay, who in the office did they pull aside to record this? You know what I mean? But again, nothing is outright bad here. It's just is fine. Audio here is gonna get a 6. Again, it's middle of the road, perfectly serviceable, pretty okay at times. There's also not a lot to talk about here either. The actual controls work fine if they were perfectly explained. I'm an idiot, and I was playing at least half of the game, not realizing that you can pick 4 things up at once in your hands and scroll through it. I didn't learn that until, funnily enough, there was this poster in the game that said, "Don't be a dumbass, do this," in the restaurant. It was kind of in like a nook off to the side that you never have to go into, so I missed it. I think a perfect solution, because the controls in this game work, they're fine, they're perfectly serviceable for a horror game. But to really make it more accessible to the player, adding more of those kind of jokey posters that explain things but they're not intrusive, and putting them in harder to miss spots would be great, because there's no explanation for the controls otherwise. As far as the UI goes, it's pretty good. Having the instruction manual literally be a worker manual works really well with the theme, and you never have to, it's always there, you never have to access it, it's not bombarding you with information at the beginning. The pause menu and the loading screens all look good. It all fits the aesthetic and the hidden aspects of the game really well. It definitely fits a better aesthetic than some other websites I've been to. Like, this website has a weird aesthetic with its UI. I mean, look at that thumb button and that big red bar. It's really weird, especially when you press them. It like does a weird thing. Like, seriously, press them and like it does this weird thing. If you haven't already anyway. Feel here gets a 9.5. It's nearly perfect. My only complaint is my own stupidity. I got confused a lot on some things that weren't really explained, just assumed the player would get, and unfortunately, I never got them, so I got stuck. So just like I said, a couple more posters kind of jokingly explaining some controls that might not be obvious to some players. There doesn't need to be a poster in the bedroom that says, make sure to use your feet, you know, but some more posters on like, oh, you could actually swap through the bag and swap your items and put the bag in and out. Things like that would really been helpful. In Happy's Humble Burger Farm, we take part in a fast food job with our lazy coworker Toe, and we try to live in the big city. If I try to discuss any more without spoilers, I can't. So, spoilers, skip to here for the plot review. Alright, this game is a lot deeper than the surface. The real plot is we are playing as E42, probably Experiment 42. Within the HHBF simulation from Obscura Tech, the people behind the experiment are attempting to create a mind control system. But due to asset Peter going rogue, the facility fell to its own creations and the simulation was left in disarray. We're trying to escape. We attempt to craft items to help us navigate our way in this game and create an object to allow us to disobey our programming and escape, only to find older models of the simulation and eventually a way out. It's a really good set dressing and an explanation for the wild and weird things that can happen in a horror game to catch you off guard. For a perfect example, take Toe. When you first meet Toe, everyone I knew clowned on this guy. It was, who the hell is this guy? Why does he run weird? And why does he only go, and why does he not help you? And then, if you sneak into his room or other hidden locations, you can find audio logs that document the mental decline of Theodore Oliver Emerson, a victim of this complex. He was once just like us, but he was in here too long. This is what'll happen to us if we can't get out. It's very Flowers for Algernon. It makes me very sad to think about. Plot here gets a 10. By far, amazing story they're telling, especially when you take into account that the alpha of the game, Happy's Humble Burger Barn, was actually incorporated into this game as an earlier experiment by Obscura Tech. E7, the character we never meet in-game, but we are getting recipes that they left behind and talking to the robot head they worked with, was the player in the alpha. It's amazing. Scythe really knows how to tell a good story. Okay, I definitely recommend people play this game. Anyone that comes up to me for horror games, I recommend it right away. But I don't know if I necessarily gush over it. You know, I talk about it at length, and I don't talk about it too much because I don't want to spoil things, but I give it glowing reviews, but I don't necessarily go like, I won't hyper fixate on this. So I guess I'll give it like a 3. So, with the points all tallied, we get to ask the question, is Happy's Humble Burger Farm a perfect game? No, but it did definitely give it the good old college try. With a score of 35.5, it definitely is a great horror experience and a steal for the price it's usually at. let alone after Steam sales. Anyone who likes indie horror really needs to check out this game. Sure, there are some weaker areas of the game. Unfortunately for me personally, I do find myself saying "but" a lot. It's definitely a high caliber game, but it isn't perfect. It's a great horror experience, but it's not as scary as it could be. It's got a really fun gameplay loop in the actual restaurant of the game, but frankly, if the game were any longer than it is, it would probably get really repetitive really fast. But to be fair, I have gone back and played a lot of the endless mode for this game, so I don't know, maybe I'm just fickle. If it sounds harsh, I'm not trying to be. I do genuinely love and recommend this game a lot, but it's not a perfect game. That's why I'm so critical. It feels like it's on the cusp of something amazing. It's just missing a few things that can really up that ante. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. Have you played Happy's Humble? If you have, I don't know why you're watching the review, but you know, let me know. If you haven't, let me know as well. Tell me things. I want to talk. I will respond to every comment on this video. Hold me to it. I've responded to almost every comment on this channel. I'll do it. This is my social media time. I've got Twitter and TikTok on a lock. So when I want social media and they're locked, I go on YouTube, I respond to comments. So comment, I will respond to your comment. Promise. And I mean, you can also like and subscribe while you're down there. It'd be pretty fun. You can make a little sandwich, serve it up for Happies. Shout out, as always, to my best patron, Emberisk. And until next time, as always, stay toasty.